All right, so today we're gonna tackle something that has captivated people for generations.
A mystery that never gets old.
Exactly. We're diving into Bigfoot.
That's right.
We've got a whole stack of YouTube videos, all claiming to have like the ultimate proof
Oh, yeah. Some pretty wild stuff out
that
there.
Sasquatch is real. We're talking footprints, strange
There's
sounds.
even some Sasquatch hair.
Oh yeah, we've got it all.
The whole shebang.
But is any of it enough to actually convince a skeptic?
That's the question, isn't it?
That's what we're here to find out.
The age-old debate.
I'm excited.
Me too. Let's
Yeah.
dive in.
All right, so first up, we're going to a place that always seems to come up in these Bigfoot conversations, Mount Rainier.
Right. Yeah.
This video we're watching is titled New 2025 Bigfoot Documentary, Mount Rainier Sasquatch Sightings, Best Audio and Footprints. It explores why this iconic volcano might be like a Bigfoot hotspot.
I mean, it's certainly got the right environment for it.
What is it about Mount Rainier that makes it so special for Bigfoot?
Well, think about it for a second. You've got these dense forests, right? Rugged landscapes, and a history of volcanic activity. It creates an environment that some believe could definitely support a large unknown primate,
Yeah, that makes sense.
like an isolated pocket of wilderness.
Right, perfect for a creature trying to, stay hidden.
Exactly. Out of sight, out of mind.
The video really focuses on these specific spots around the mountain where people have reported seeing Bigfoot, and they really zero in on the idea that Bigfoot follows the food,
Right, gotta eat.
Yeah, even a mysterious creature needs to eat, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they show this marshy area that has all these fresh elk tracks, and they're suggesting that Bigfoot's hunting in the same areas as the other predators up there.
It's logical if we're considering the possibility of a large primate inhabiting these areas. They would be following established food chains just like any other predator.
That's a good point.
Researchers often look for signs of Bigfoot activity in places that align with animal behavior and migration patterns.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Following the food trail.
But then they show this really strange, leaning pole in the woods, and it's not attached to anything, and it looks really heavy, like something you would need serious strength to move. The video suggests it might have been placed there by a Sasquatch, almost like a marker. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's interesting.
Seems far-fetched.
I mean, it's definitely intriguing. Researchers often look for disturbances or patterns in the environment that can't be easily explained by natural occurrences or, known animal behavior.
Mm-hmm.
This pull could be a case of pareidolia.
Pareidolia.
Yeah, where we see patterns or meaning where none exists.
No, like seeing faces in the clouds.
Exactly. Or it could be something more. Who knows?
Right, maybe it was just a random fallen tree that happened to land in a weird position.
It should be.
But then they show a broken tree in a spot known for alleged Bigfoot activity, and they're claiming that a similar broken tree is where researchers found what they claim to be Sasquatch hair. And they even mentioned this thing called the FBACK gold standard. What is that?
So the FBAC gold standard refers to the work of Dr. Henner Fehrenbach. He analyzed hair samples collected after supposed Bigfoot encounters, and he found that some of these hairs exhibited unique microscopic characteristics.
So we're talking about hair that doesn't match any animal in a database.
Unlike any known animal.
That's pretty mind-blowing, but does it definitively prove Bigfoot's real?
Well, while these hairs are incredibly intriguing and certainly fuel the debate, they haven't been definitively linked to a new species.
Right.
More research is needed to determine their origin and rule out any other possibilities.
So what could it be then if it's not Bigfoot?
It's possible these hairs belong to a known animal with a genetic anomaly, or maybe even a hybrid species we haven't documented yet.
A hybrid.
It's possible.
Wow, so the hair samples raise more questions than answers.
It seems that way.
Well, this next part always sends chills down my spine, audio recordings.
Oh, yeah.
They play what Jonathan and Sarah Brown captured on their property near Mount Rainier, and it seriously sounds like someone singing in the woods at night. It is eerie, to say the least.
I can imagine vocalizations are one of the most common elements in Bigfoot reports.
Yeah.
And analyzing these recordings is a crucial part of Bigfoot research.
So what are they listening for?
They're trying to determine if these sounds match any known animal vocalizations or if they exhibit unique patterns that could suggest a new species.
So this particular recording is categorized as an undulating whoop, and it's not the only one. The video mentions other recordings from Bumping Lake, another supposed Bigfoot hotspot,
Oh, Bumping Lake. Yeah, I've heard of that place.
that have sounds that can't be easily identified. Do certain locations tend to have more of these unexplained sounds than others?
That's a good question. Bumping Lake is particularly interesting because it has a long history of Bigfoot sightings and unexplained sounds. Years ago, a researcher named Bart Sino claimed to have seen a figure through his thermal imager at Bumping Lake.
Oh, wow.
But technology has advanced significantly since then.
Yeah, how reliable is thermal imaging in Bigfoot research today?
It's true that thermal imaging has come a long way, but it still has limitations.
Like what?
While it's incredibly useful for detecting heat signatures in the dark, identifying a specific creature based solely on a heat blob can be tricky.
Right.
Interpretation plays a huge role, and there's always a chance of misidentifying a heat source.
Okay, so even with all the fancy technology, we still need to be cautious about jumping to conclusions.
Absolutely.
Let's shift gears for a moment and travel south to the Sierra Nevada mountains in California, another location that's synonymous with Bigfoot. A YouTube video from Discovery Channel France titled Cache dans la montagne Bigfoot investigates Bigfoot encounters in this rugged mountain range. Do you think there are any connections between the Bigfoot reports in Mount Rainier and the Sierra Nevada, or are they completely separate phenomena?
It's interesting to consider that these reports, despite being geographically separated, often share similarities in descriptions of behaviors, suggesting that there might be some underlying connection. It raises the question of whether Bigfoot is a single species with regional variations, or if there are multiple related species inhabiting different parts of the world.
Oh, like different types of Bigfoot.
Exactly, and it speaks to the broader fascination with undiscovered primates.
Right, like the Yeti and the Yowie. Could they all be part of like the same family tree?
It's certainly a possibility, and it speaks to the broader fascination with undiscovered primates. These creatures often play a significant role in folklore and cultural traditions, suggesting that the belief in large unknown humanoids has deep roots in human history.
That's so fascinating. Okay, so back to the Sierra Nevada. This video mentions something interesting. Witnesses report more Bigfoot activity at lower elevations during the winter months, similar to animal migration patterns. Could this be a clue to Bigfoot's behavior, or is it just a coincidence?
Seasonality is definitely a factor that researchers consider. If Bigfoot exists, it would make sense that they would adapt their movements and behaviors based on seasonal changes, just like other animals. Moving to lower elevations during harsher weather to access food sources would be a logical survival strategy.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Right.
The video highlights the manzanita trees and how Bigfoot supposedly love their seeds. I'm picturing a Sasquatch munching on berries, kind of like a giant forest bear.
Like a furry gardener.
Yeah, exactly. Then they share a story from Charles, a resident near Chev Lake, who heard knocking sounds and found giant footprints near his home. He was adamant that they were way too big to be human. Footprints seem to be a recurring theme in Bigfoot encounters. What makes them so important in this field of research?
Footprint analysis is considered a cornerstone of Bigfoot research because it offers tangible evidence that can be measured, photographed, and analyzed.
Right, something physical.
Exactly. Researchers look for specific features that differentiate Bigfoot tracks from human or animal prints, such as the mid-tarsal pressure ridge.
Wait, so there's a specific term for that?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me more about this mid-tarsal pressure ridge. Why is it so important in distinguishing Bigfoot footprints?
Imagine a human foot compared to an ape's foot. The mid-tarsal pressure ridge is more pronounced in apes, allowing their feet to bend and flex in a way that humans can't. This ridge creates a distinct imprint in the footprint, and if consistently found in alleged Bigfoot tracks, it could suggest a more primate-like anatomy.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's like having a window into Bigfoot's anatomy, even without seeing the creature itself.
Precisely.
But, for every intriguing footprint story, there's a story like Carrie's, who was babysitting when she saw a Bigfoot peering through a mobile home window. It's a classic creepy Bigfoot encounter. But how much weight do you give eyewitness accounts when it comes to evaluating evidence?
Eyewitness accounts can be both compelling and challenging.
In what way?
They offer valuable insights into the alleged behavior and appearance of Bigfoot, but they're also inherently subjective. Factors like fear, poor lighting, and the desire to see something extraordinary can influence how people perceive and remember events.
Right. Our brains can play tricks on us, especially when we're in unfamiliar or unsettling situations. This video did something interesting to demonstrate that point. They try to recreate a sighting where someone claimed to see Bigfoot in the distance. They use another researcher named Bobo, and as it turns out, it's really hard to identify anything definitively from far away.
Exactly. This highlights the importance of skepticism and considering alternative explanations. Long-distance sightings are notoriously unreliable, and it's always wise to consider the possibility of misidentification, especially with fleeting glimpses or obscured views.
So distance and perspective can really distort our perception. But then this video takes us in a completely different direction to a cave with 1,000-year-old Native American cave paintings. What's so significant about these paintings, and how do they fit into the larger Bigfoot narrative?
These cave paintings, which allegedly depict figures resembling Bigfoot families, connect the search for Bigfoot to a much deeper cultural and historical context. Native American tribes have long told stories of large, hairy humanoids inhabiting the wilderness. This suggests that these beliefs have deep roots predating modern Bigfoot sightings and adding another layer of complexity to the mystery.
Wow. Okay, so we've got footprints, strange sounds, historical connections, and even some intriguing hair samples. It's like we're building a case file for Bigfoot piece by piece. But you know what really captures the imagination are those videos that claim to show Bigfoot in action, and we're going to dive into those next. Get ready for some potentially mind-blowing footage because we're about to see if any of it can stand up to scrutiny.
Sifting through all this Bigfoot evidence, it's those supposed glimpses of Bigfoot's face that really get to me.
Right.
There's something about seeing those human-like features peering out from the wilderness.
It's creepy.
It really taps into our primal fears and fascination,
Yeah. It's like looking into the eyes of the unknown. And it makes you question, what is out there?
Yeah.
So let's jump right into a video that focuses on those creepy Bigfoot faces. This one's from Bob Gimlin's channel, and it's called 3 Super Creepy Bigfoot Faces Caught on Camera. And let me tell you, just scrolling through the thumbnails is enough to make you sleep with the lights on.
Oh, I bet.
What's intriguing is that these alleged Bigfoot faces, they often appear in photos where the photographer had no idea that anything was unusual at the time.
Wow.
It's like they're hidden in plain sight and only emerge later, upon closer inspection.
Like they're trying to stay hidden?
Yeah, maybe. So let's start with the first photo. It's a close-up of a face in the woods, and I've got to say it's pretty detailed. You can make out a bulbous nose, sunken eye sockets, even what looks like an ear. But it's missing some of the classic Bigfoot features like a prominent brow ridge and that bony ridge on top of the skull. Do those features vary between individual Bigfoots, or could this be a sign that we're not actually looking at a Sasquatch?
Well, it's a good question. While there's no definitive blueprint for what a Bigfoot should look like, there are certain features that are commonly reported, like the heavy brow ridge and the sagittal crest you mentioned. The absence of those features in this photo could suggest misidentification. Perhaps a trick of light and shadow, creating a face-like image on a tree trunk or rock formation?
Right, our brains are trying to make sense of random patterns, and sometimes they see a face where there isn't one. That's that whole pareidolia thing we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
But here's where it gets creepy. The couple who took this photo, they didn't notice anything strange until they were looking at it later. They were literally just feet away from this alleged Bigfoot face and had no idea. Does that make the photo more or less credible, in your opinion?
It's a tough one. On the one hand, the fact that they weren't actively looking for Bigfoot at the time lends a certain level of authenticity to the photo.
Right.
It wasn't staged or intentionally manipulated. But on the other hand, it also highlights the limitations of human perception, especially in fleeting moments. Our brains filter out a lot of information, and sometimes those details only emerge later when we have the time to scrutinize them.
It's almost like our subconscious is picking up on things that our conscious mind misses.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, the next photo in this video is from footage by Robert Dodson, a Bigfoot researcher who sadly passed away a few years ago. He was known for his dedicated approach to Bigfoot research, spending hours filming in the woods. Viewers spotted a face that seems to appear and disappear in the foliage of one of his videos. It's subtle, but when you see it, it's hard to unsee it.
It's amazing what people can spot in footage sometimes. Dodson's dedication to capturing footage in the wild is commendable, and it's this kind of meticulous documentation that can sometimes lead to unexpected discoveries. However, it's also crucial to consider the possibility of parallax in these situations.
Okay, remind me what's parallax again, and how could it affect what we're seeing in this footage?
Sure. Parallax is the apparent shift in an object's position when viewed from different angles.
Okay.
Think about driving down the road. The trees closer to you seem to move faster than the trees in the distance.
Right.
This same principle applies to video footage, especially when the cameraman is moving. It can create the illusion of objects appearing and disappearing, even if they're stationary.
So that fleeting face in Dodson's video could just be a trick of the camera angle.
It's definitely a possibility.
Okay, moving on. We have a photo from a trucker who was driving along the Dalton Highway in Alaska. He stopped at a rest area and took some photos of the mountains. And later he discovered a creepy face in one of the photos. Have you noticed any patterns in the locations where these photos are taken?
You know, it's fascinating that these alleged Bigfoot face photos, they come from such diverse locations, mountains, forests, even suburban areas.
Really?
It suggests that if Bigfoot exists, they might be more adaptable and widespread than we typically imagine. However, it's also important to consider the human element. We tend to see what we're looking for, especially with ambiguous imagery.
Right, like maybe we're all just primed to see Bigfoot faces because that's what we want to believe.
It's definitely a possibility.
The final photo in this video is from Provo, Utah, and it shows a figure standing on a snowy mountain ridge. At first glance, it totally looks like a Bigfoot, but there's a twist.
Oh, a twist. What is it?
This photo is a good example of how seemingly compelling evidence can be debunked with further investigation. Investigators later found boot prints on the mountain suggesting the figure was likely a human hiker, not a mysterious creature.
Oh, wow.
It's a good reminder that we can't always trust what we see, especially with photos and videos that can be easily manipulated these days.
Absolutely. You got to stay vigilant.
Okay, let's shift gears again and dive into some videos from the History Channel. These are from their series, The Proof is Out There, and they feature a mix of Bigfoot encounters and expert analysis. What do you think about how these shows approach the topic?
You know, shows like The Proof is Out There, they often do a good job of presenting multiple perspectives on alleged evidence. They'll have experts who believe in the possibility of Bigfoot and experts who are more skeptical. It allows viewers to weigh the different opinions and form their own conclusions.
Right, it's about presenting the information and letting the audience decide for themselves.
Exactly.
The first video we're watching is titled, The Proof is Out There, 5 Mysterious Bigfoot Encounters. And it starts with some thermal footage captured by Stacy Brown Jr. and his father in Florida. They were camping when they caught something moving through the trees on their thermal camera. What do you think about the use of thermal imaging in Bigfoot research?
Thermal imaging has become an increasingly popular tool in Bigfoot research.
Right.
And it's not hard to see why. It allows us to see heat signatures even in darkness, which is a huge advantage when dealing with a creature that's supposedly nocturnal and good at hiding.
Right, like it's taking away one of Bigfoot's biggest advantages, the cover of darkness. This footage shows a creature emerging from a tree, crossing a clearing, and it even seems to glance back at the camera. It's pretty clear from the heat signature that it's not just a person walking around.
That's interesting. The creature's movements in this footage are particularly interesting. It seems to be walking upright, and its size and shape are consistent with many descriptions of Bigfoot. However, there's still room for interpretation.
Of course. The experts on the show weigh in with their opinions, and some think it could be a misidentified animal, while others believe it might be the legendary skunk ape, Florida's own version of Bigfoot.
Oh, the skunk ape. Yeah, I've heard of that one. The skunk ape is a fascinating cryptid with its own set of lore, and reported encounters often described as similar to Bigfoot, but with a distinctive foul odor.
Oh, no thanks. I'll take regular Bigfoot over a stinky one.
Right. It's a great example of how regional variations in Bigfoot beliefs can arise.
Right, like Bigfoot with a twist. The next case in this video is Chuck Newton's footage from Virginia, which shows a figure crossing a stream. But the experts are divided on whether it's genuine or a hoax. Why is it so hard to reach consensus on some of this footage?
One of the biggest challenges in analyzing Bigfoot footage is the issue of blurry images and fleeting glimpses. Without clear visual confirmation, it often comes down to subjective interpretation and the viewer's own biases. What one person sees as a definitive Bigfoot, another person might dismiss as a bear or a person in a costume.
Okay, so context and perspective are key. Now we travel to the Blue Mountains of Washington State, where Paul Freeman, a former U.S. Forest Patrolman, discovered a bunch of large footprints back in 1991. And the plot thickens, more prints were found in the same area over the years, and some experts believe they could all belong to the same individual Bigfoot. What are the chances that a Bigfoot would stay in the same general area for decades?
It's an intriguing possibility, and it speaks to the potential longevity of these creatures. The estimated lifespan of a Bigfoot is believed to be similar to that of humans, meaning they could live for several decades, potentially inhabiting a particular area for generations. This could explain why certain locations like the Blue Mountains have a higher concentration of Bigfoot reports over time.
So maybe Bigfoot is a creature of habit.
That's possible.
Okay, back to the video. We're transported to the Sam Houston National Forest in Texas, where we hear audio recordings captured by Boyd Sims. These are some seriously spooky howls and whoops that some believe could be Bigfoot communication. Is there any scientific basis for thinking Bigfoot could communicate in complex ways?
The possibility of Bigfoot communication is particularly fascinating, and some researchers believe they might use a combination of vocalizations and infrasound, which are low-frequency sounds that can travel long distances. Think about how elephants use infrasound to communicate across vast distances.
Infrasound, wow. It makes you wonder what else we might be missing. What other sounds are out there that we just can't perceive?
Right. It's a whole other world of sound.
The video throws a curveball by showing footage of a baby Bigfoot filmed in the Catskill Mountains of New York. It's this small bipedal creature swinging from tree branches. Is it a juvenile Bigfoot, or could it be something else entirely?
Reports of juvenile Bigfoots are rare, but they do exist. If Bigfoot is a real species, it makes sense that there would be young ones, and their behavior might differ from that of adults, perhaps being more playful and agile, similar to young primates. However, it's also important to consider other possibilities, like a bear cub or a misidentified primate species.
Right. Sometimes a blurry video just leaves more questions than answers. But now we go from a potential baby Bigfoot to footage of a creature foraging beneath a bald eagle nest in Michigan. This was captured on a live stream camera, which seems like a pretty reliable source of footage, right?
Live stream cameras offer a unique opportunity to observe wildlife in real time.
Yeah.
And they can capture footage without the interference of human presence, which is a huge advantage in Bigfoot research. However, even with clear footage, the issue of scale and perspective can come into play.
So something that looks huge on camera might actually be much smaller in real life.
Exactly. It's all about context.
It's like those optical illusions where your brain gets tricked by the surrounding objects.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we then hear some audio from Wright, Minnesota, a mix of howls and knocking sounds. But this one has a twist. It's a hoax.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately, hoaxes are a reality in the world of Bigfoot research, and they can be incredibly convincing, especially with the ease of manipulating audio and video these days. It highlights the importance of critical analysis and not taking everything at face value.
Right, you've got to be discerning.
It's like a reminder to stay skeptical even when the evidence seems compelling.
Exactly.
This particular History Channel deep dive ends with some footage from the Marble Mountains in California, where hikers found a structure resembling a makeshift hut and captured a figure on a mountain ridge. Could this be evidence of Bigfoot building structures similar to what some primates do?
The possibility of Bigfoot creating shelters or structures is intriguing. If they're real, they would need some form of protection from the elements, and building basic structures wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility. However, it's important to remember that humans aren't the only creatures capable of building simple shelters, and we need to be careful about attributing every unusual structure to Bigfoot.
Right, like maybe it was a really crafty bear.
Maybe?
Okay, so we've got to consider all the possibilities. But this footage really blurs the lines. Some experts believe the figure on the ridge is a Bigfoot, while others think it's more likely a human hiker. It's like every time we think we're getting close to an answer, we just end up with more questions.
That's the inherent challenge of Bigfoot research. The evidence is often ambiguous and open to interpretation, and that's why the mystery persists.
Speaking of ambiguity, let's take a look at another History Channel compilation, this one titled Top 13 Bigfoot Sightings Caught on Camera. The proof is out there. It's like a Bigfoot highlight reel. We see some familiar clips, but one that stands out is from Doug Teague in western North Carolina. He captured some strange sounds and made casts of footprints near a makeshift shelter. It sounds like a classic Bigfoot encounter, but what makes this one different?
This case is particularly interesting because it involves multiple types of evidence, audio recordings, footprint casts, and a possible shelter.
Right.
This allows researchers to compare and analyze different data points and look for correlations. It's like building a more complete picture of the event.
Right, like putting together pieces of a puzzle. The experts on the show are intrigued by the footprints. They show those telltale signs of a large primate, including the mid-tarsal pressure ridge. But the video footage is pretty vague, and there's no clear view of the creature itself. Does that make this case weaker than, say, a video with a clear shot of a Bigfoot?
While a clear video would be ideal, it's not always the case in Bigfoot research.
Right.
Sometimes the absence of clear visuals can actually make a case more intriguing. It forces us to rely on other forms of evidence and consider the possibility that Bigfoot might be deliberately avoiding detection.
Okay, so maybe Bigfoot is smarter than we give it credit for. This video then takes us back to the Sierra Nevada mountains with the infamous Sierra Sounds audio recordings from Al Berry and Ron Moorhead. These recordings are famous in Bigfoot circles for their strange, almost human-like vocalizations. What makes these sounds so unique, and why do they stand out from other Bigfoot audio?
The Sierra sounds are considered by many to be some of the most compelling audio evidence for Bigfoot. They feature a complex range of sounds, including whoops, howls, and even what sound like words or syllables.
It's pretty freaky listening to them. You almost get the sense that there's some kind of intelligence behind those sounds.
I can imagine.
The experts on the show analyze the recordings and rule out elk, bears, coyotes, and even wolves.
It's impressive that they can narrow it down like that.
The complexity and range of the Sierra sounds make it difficult to find a definitive match among known animal species. This, combined with the circumstances surrounding the recordings, has led some to believe that they could be evidence of a new, unknown primate communicating in a complex way.
Wow.
Okay, so now we're talking about potential language, not just random animal noises.
Right, like they're trying to tell us something.
Next, we see footage from the Platte River State Fish Hatchery in Michigan, captured on a live stream camera in 2016. People watching the live stream noticed a strange creature moving around beneath a bald eagle's nest. Why are live stream cameras so valuable in Bigfoot research?
Live stream cameras offer an unbiased perspective, capturing footage continuously without the need for human intervention. It eliminates the possibility of someone staging a hoax or tampering with the footage.
Right. It's like having a 24/7 surveillance system in the wilderness. This footage is relatively clear, but even with improved clarity, the experts are divided on the creature's identity.
It just goes to show that even with seemingly clear footage, there's room for interpretation. What one person sees as definitive proof, another might dismiss as a misidentified animal or a human in disguise.
Okay, so back to the drawing board. Now we're back in the Marble Mountains of Northern California with footage from a youth group that stumbled upon a structure resembling a hut and captured a figure on a mountain ridge. What's so compelling about this case, and why does this location keep popping up in Bigfoot investigations?
Northern California, with its vast wilderness and dense forests, is considered by many to be a prime habitat for Bigfoot. It's also where the iconic Patterson-Gimlin film was shot, which continues to fuel the debate and inspire searches in this area.
Right, that's the holy grail of Bigfoot footage. The footage of the figure is pretty distant, but it shows an upright creature walking on two legs. The experts are intrigued by the figure's strange body proportions and lack of a backpack or hiking gear. Does that rule out the possibility of it being a human hiker?
Not necessarily. Some hikers prefer to travel light and might wear clothing that blends in with the environment, making them less visible in footage.
Right, so it's back to that whole idea of context and interpretation. Finally, we go to Provo, Utah, where hunters captured footage of a large figure on a snowy mountain ridge. But, as with many Bigfoot investigations, there's a twist.
Another twist. Okay, I'm listening.
This case demonstrates the importance of on-site investigation and not relying solely on video footage. While the footage might seem compelling at first glance, investigators later found boot prints on the mountain, suggesting the figure was likely a human hiker, not a Bigfoot.
Wow, so another case of mistaken identity. It's starting to feel like every time we get close to cracking the Bigfoot mystery, something throws us off course.
It's like this creature's intentionally playing hide-and-seek with us.
The elusive nature of Bigfoot is part of its enduring appeal. The lack of definitive proof keeps the mystery alive, allowing us to speculate, debate, and imagine the possibilities.
But, just when I was starting to feel like we were going in circles, this compilation takes us in a completely different direction back in time to 1951.
Oh, wow. Going way back.
Yeah, 1951. The story of Eric Shipton and the Yeti footprints in the Himalayas. This is where we delve into the historical roots of Bigfoot beliefs, exploring how those beliefs have evolved and influenced our modern fascination with these creatures.
That's fascinating.
So who was Eric Shipton and what makes his discovery so significant?
Eric Shipton was a renowned Himalayan explorer, and in 1951, during an expedition to Mount Everest, he discovered a series of massive footprints in the snow. These footprints, which he photographed extensively, became some of the earliest and most compelling evidence for the existence of the Yeti or abominable snowman.
So the Yeti is like Bigfoot's Himalayan cousin.
Exactly.
And this discovery really put these creatures on the map, so to speak. But this video takes it a step further, introducing a massive molar tooth that was found in a shop in Hong Kong. This tooth belonged to an extinct ape called Gigantopithecus, and it was 6 times the size of a human molar. The discovery of Gigantopithecus was a major turning point in our understanding of primate evolution. It demonstrated that giant apes did exist, and it raised the possibility that they might have survived into more recent times, potentially giving rise to creatures like the Yeti and Bigfoot.
So we're talking about an ancient ancestor.
Yeah, possibly. Wait, so we're talking about an ape that was potentially 10 feet tall and weighed over 1,000 pounds with a skull the size of a small car. No wonder people thought it was a monster.
That's incredible.
But what's even more intriguing is that an ape that large probably wouldn't have spent much time in trees.
Exactly. Its sheer size would have made it difficult to navigate the treetops, suggesting that Gigantopithecus likely walked upright on two legs, similar to humans.
So maybe Bigfoot isn't so far-fetched after all. I mean, if a giant ape like Gigantopithecus could walk upright, then maybe other unknown primates could have evolved similar abilities.
It's a compelling possibility that opens up a whole new realm of speculation about what other undiscovered creatures might be out there.
Oh.
The existence of Gigantopithecus challenges our assumptions about primate evolution and reminds us that we still have so much to learn about our planet's history and the creatures that have inhabited it.
Okay, my mind is officially blown.
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, from the misty forests of the Pacific Northwest to the icy peaks of the Himalayas, from creepy Bigfoot faces to the massive jaws of an extinct giant ape. It's been a wild ride.
And the journey's not over yet. We have one final batch of YouTube videos to explore, and they promise to delve even deeper into the heart of the Bigfoot mystery.
All right, I'm ready for more. Bring on the next round of evidence.
Okay, we're back for the final leg of our Bigfoot deep dive. And, after all the evidence we've examined, I'm starting to think Bigfoot is like the ultimate master of hide and seek.
It's true. Bigfoot seems to excel at leaving behind just enough evidence to keep us intrigued, but never enough to definitively prove its existence. It's a tantalizing blend of the plausible and the perplexing. Exactly. So let's dive into this last batch of YouTube videos and see if they can shed any new light on this enduring enigma. We're starting with a video from the Para Breakdown channel titled Bigfoot Evidence, the Provo Canyon Encounter. As you know, Provo Canyon in Utah is a popular hiking spot, but it's also become a bit of a hotbed for Bigfoot sightings. What do you think is about this location that attracts these kinds of reports?
Well, Provo Canyon's interesting because it's relatively close to a major metropolitan area, yet it still offers these vast stretches of wilderness. This proximity to human populations, combined with the rugged terrain and dense vegetation, creates a scenario where encounters are more likely to occur.
Right. It's like Bigfoot is venturing into our backyard, so to speak. This video starts with some stunning drone footage of Provo Canyon setting the scene for a hike that takes a very unexpected turn. A group of friends were out enjoying the scenery when they noticed something strange moving through the trees. They managed to capture a few seconds of footage, but it's pretty blurry. What are some of the challenges of using drone footage in Bigfoot research?
Drones offer a fantastic tool for surveying large areas and capturing footage from unique angles, but they also have limitations. Image stabilization can be an issue, especially when the drone is moving quickly or in windy conditions. And of course, distance and lighting can affect the clarity of the footage.
So a blurry figure in the distance could be anything, really. But these hikers weren't just relying on what they saw. They went back to the same spot a few days later and discovered a massive footprint over 17 inches long with a clear impression of 5 toes. Footprints seem to be one of the most common forms of Bigfoot evidence. What makes them so valuable to researchers?
Footprints offer tangible evidence that can be measured, photographed, and analyzed. They can tell us a lot about the size, weight, and gait of the creature that made them. And as we discussed earlier, certain features like the mid-tarsal pressure ridge can help researchers distinguish between human and primate footprints.
Okay, so a giant footprint with a primate-like anatomy is pretty hard to ignore. These hikers even called in a local Bigfoot researcher to examine the print, and he determined that it wasn't consistent with any known animal in the area. It's like all signs are pointing to Bigfoot, but then you have to consider the possibility of hoaxes. How can researchers tell the difference between a genuine footprint and one that's been faked?
It's a challenge, but there are techniques for analyzing footprints to determine their authenticity. Researchers look for signs of tampering, like tool marks or inconsistencies in the pressure patterns. They also consider the surrounding environment and whether the soil conditions would have allowed for a clear imprint. And of course, comparing the footprint to known animal tracks is crucial.
It's like detective work, piecing together the clues to see if they add up. This video then throws in another layer of intrigue. Another group of hikers claimed to have seen a Bigfoot in the same area just a few weeks earlier. They didn't get any photos or videos, but their descriptions matched those of the first group. Does that multiple sightings in a particular area strengthen the case for Bigfoot?
Multiple sightings in the same location, especially within a short time frame, can certainly add weight to the possibility of Bigfoot activity. It suggests a pattern of behavior rather than isolated incidents.
Okay, so maybe Provo Canyon is a Bigfoot hangout spot. Let's move on to the next YouTube video, this one from the Thinker Thunker channel titled, Could This Be Bigfoot? 9 Shocking Videos You Have to See. I'm already intrigued. This video jumps around to different locations, and the first one that caught my eye is from the Uwharrie National Forest in North Carolina. What do you know about this location, and why does it keep popping up in Bigfoot investigations?
The Uwharrie National Forest has a long history of Bigfoot sightings and strange encounters. It's a vast, rugged area with dense forests and remote swamps, making it an ideal habitat for a large creature to live undetected.
Right, it's like Bigfoot's dream home. This particular clip features audio of some really weird screams and howls coming from the woods at night. It's the kind of sound that makes your hair stand on end, but the video doesn't offer any expert analysis or comparisons to known animal sounds. How crucial is that analysis when it comes to evaluating audio evidence?
Without proper analysis, it's impossible to determine if those sounds are truly unique, or if they could be attributed to known animals like owls, foxes, or even coyotes. Sound can be very deceptive, especially in a forest environment where it can echo and distort.
So a spooky howl could just be a fox with a megaphone, essentially. The next clip is from a trail camera in the Olympic National Forest in Washington state. It shows a large, dark figure moving through the trees at night. We've seen a lot of trail camera footage in this deep dive. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of using trail cameras in Bigfoot research?
Trail cameras offer a non-invasive way to monitor wildlife activity. They can be left in remote locations for extended periods, capturing images and videos without the need for human presence. This eliminates the risk of observer bias and can capture footage of creatures that are typically shy or elusive.
Right. It's like having a silent observer in the woods. The figure in this footage is pretty blurry, but it does seem to be moving in an upright manner, and it's definitely larger than any animal I've ever seen in the woods.
Size and gait are important factors in Bigfoot identification, but blurry footage can be difficult to interpret. It's always possible that a person wearing dark clothing could be mistaken for a large creature, especially in low-light conditions.
Okay, so we need to be careful about jumping to conclusions. This video then shows a clip that was supposedly filmed in the Sierra Nevada mountains. A group of hikers saw something moving in the bushes and captured a few seconds of footage, but it's incredibly shaky, and you can barely tell what you're looking at. I know we've talked about this before, but why is so much Bigfoot footage so blurry and shaky?
It's a combination of factors, really. The excitement and adrenaline of an unexpected encounter can make it difficult to hold a camera steady, especially when you're trying to focus on something moving quickly through dense vegetation. And of course, many of these encounters happen in low-light conditions, which further degrades the image quality.
It seems like Bigfoot is a master at picking the worst possible lighting and hiding spots for a photo op. So far, this video is giving us a lot of could be, but not a lot of definitely is. But that's kind of the theme of this entire deep dive, right? It's like we're chasing a shadow, always getting close, but never quite grasping it.
The search for Bigfoot is often a journey into ambiguity and uncertainty. We're constantly weighing the evidence, considering alternative explanations, and trying to make sense of the unknown.
Okay, last video in our stack. This one's from the Top 5's channel, and it's titled 5 Creepiest Bigfoot Sightings Caught on Camera. Scary. Okay, I'm officially spooked. The first clip is from a security camera at a campground in the Appalachian Mountains. I'm sensing a theme here. Mountains, forests, remote locations. Does Bigfoot just not like cities?
The vast majority of Bigfoot reports come from wilderness areas, particularly mountainous regions with dense forests. These habitats provide ample cover and food sources, and they're typically less populated by humans, allowing a large creature to live relatively undisturbed.
Okay, so Bigfoot is a country dweller, not a city slicker. This security camera footage is grainy and in black and white, but it shows a tall figure walking past a tent in the middle of the night. The figure doesn't even seem to notice the camera and just disappears into the darkness. It's pretty eerie, especially knowing that the campers inside that tent were completely oblivious to what was lurking outside.
Security camera footage can offer valuable insights because it's often captured without the intention of documenting Bigfoot. It removes the element of human expectation and provides more objective perspective.
Okay, so it's less likely to be staged or manipulated. Now we're transported to a forest in the Pacific Northwest, and this clip feels like something straight out of a horror movie. A group of friends were hiking when they heard something moving in the trees above them. They looked up and saw a large, dark figure peering down at them. It's like a primal fear come to life, being watched by something unknown in the woods.
The Pacific Northwest, with its dense forests and rich Bigfoot lore, is considered by many to be the heart of Bigfoot country. Encounters like this, where the creature is seen in the trees, support the idea that Bigfoot might be more arboreal than we typically imagine.
Right, like it's comfortable moving through the trees, almost like a giant primate. The footage is shaky and blurry, but you can just make out a dark shape among the branches. The hikers understandably freaked out and ran away. Can you blame them?
The fight-or-flight response kicks in when we encounter something unknown and potentially dangerous. It's a natural reaction, and it's why many Bigfoot encounters result in fleeting glimpses and shaky footage.
Okay, next, we're in the Rocky Mountains, another classic Bigfoot location, and this time we have trail camera footage of a large, hairy creature walking on two legs and crossing a stream. This creature seems more agile and sure-footed than the stereotypical image of a lumbering beast. Does that change your perception of Bigfoot's physical capabilities?
It's important to remember that we don't have a complete understanding of Bigfoot's anatomy or physiology. If it exists, it might possess a unique combination of strength, agility, and sensory adaptations that allow it to thrive in challenging environments.
Okay, so we need to keep an open mind about what this creature might be capable of. We're nearing the end of this final video, and it ends with a clip from the forests of Northern California where a man driving along a rural road saw something standing in the middle of the road. He slammed on his brakes and captured a few seconds of footage before the creature ran off into the woods. What's your take on encounters like this, where Bigfoot seems to be caught off guard by human presence?
It's possible that Bigfoot, if it exists, has become accustomed to avoiding human contact and might be surprised when those encounters occur. Or it could be a sign that Bigfoot is becoming bolder or that its habitat is shrinking, leading to more interactions with humans.
Wow, that's a lot to process. We've gone through hours of footage covering a wide range of evidence, from footprints and audio recordings to thermal images and blurry videos. It's been an incredible journey into the heart of the Bigfoot mystery. But after all this, the question remains, does Bigfoot exist?
That's the million-dollar question. And unfortunately, there's no easy answer. The evidence we've examined is intriguing, but it's often inconclusive. We have tantalizing glimpses, but no definitive proof.
So it's still up to each individual to decide what they believe. But I think the real value of this deep dive isn't about finding a definitive answer. It's about exploring the unknown, questioning our assumptions, and appreciating the enduring power of mystery.
I couldn't agree more. The search for Bigfoot is ultimately a search for ourselves, for our place in the natural world, and for the limits of our understanding. And that's a journey that continues long after the videos end.
Well said. Thanks for joining me on this wild ride, and who knows, maybe someday we'll finally have our answer. But until then, the mystery of Bigfoot lives on.